Welcome back to Squawk Box this morning. Congressional Democrats racing to rally support for President Biden's slimmed down $1.575 trillion spending, or we should call it social spending package. For more on all of this, I want to welcome Congressman James Comer of Kentucky and also Congressman Ro Khanna, of course, of California. I want to thank both of you for joining us. Congressman Comer, let's just start with you. I know that you've got lots of, let's say, problems with this bill. The question that I would ask you is, if not this bill, what do you do? And how would you pay for all of this if you wouldn't do it the way it's set up?
Well, I wouldn't do it to begin with. I mean, we have a strong economy right now. The biggest problem in our economy is inflation. And if the government's going to spend trillions more, that's only going to enhance inflation even more at a time when we're trying to recover from a pandemic. So I don't think that a lot of these programs in this social spending bill are necessary. I do think it's a good time to do an infrastructure bill. But as we have seen through this whole process, both the budget reconciliation bill and the infrastructure bill are tied together. Congressman
Khanna, you've heard this argument many times, but at the same time, I think it's starting to show in terms of the poll numbers when you look at the administration, when you look at what's happening, for example, in Virginia. What do you make of that as a commentary on the push, for example, for bills like this?
Well, let's look at what inflation is. It's too much money chasing too few goods. So what do we need to do? We need to increase the productive capacity of the economy. What do these bills do? They increase the productive capacity in two ways. First, they have a lot of money for ports and supply chains and manufacturing. That's going to increase goods, increase supply, lower the price. Second, they're going to get more people back in the workforce by providing childcare. So many women are out of the workforce. Now, no American family, working class, is going to have to pay more than 7%. That's going to increase the supply of labor, decrease price. So this is a de-inflationary package.
But to the point of the polls and to the point of what, for example, is happening in places like Virginia, what do you make of that? And do you believe that's a commentary on bills like this?
I believe there's frustration that we haven't gotten anything done, and that has affected the president's numbers. But I'm confident we will pass both this week. It's going to have every American having childcare. It's going to create millions of new jobs with investment in climate. Your previous segment was all about
climate. But Congressman, just to put a fine point on it, you think this is a function of the fact that it hasn't happened yet? It hasn't gotten done. That's why folks are upset? Or you think that that folks are upset with bills like this?
I think there are two reasons that the poll numbers have been down, because everyone knows some of them that have been down. One is the headlines have shown that, there's bickering and we haven't been able to get things done. People don't like gridlock. And two, it's been a tough year. I mean, there's no doubt with Delta variant and with people not getting the supplies that they want, it's a tough year. And my view is these bills will address that and will help put the country on the right track.
Congressman Comer, one of the things that's in these bills, which is pretty interesting, we're talking about it on Friday, is effectively the subsidy to the auto industry, but specifically to automakers that are unionized on a relative basis to those that are ununionized. This will impact actually some of the vehicle makers in your state, also impacts the likes of Tesla. Do you think that's fair?
No, I don't think it's fair. And I think that this goes along with a pattern of Democrats picking winners and losers in this legislation. You've had a lot of employers on your show over the last 6 months, and they're all complaining about trying to find workers. So if the goal of the Democrats in Congress now is to pass a bill and spend trillions of dollars to try to create more jobs, there are over 10 million jobs available in our economy right now. We need to get people back into the workforce. And I just don't think that this is the right direction. It's not the right time to raise taxes. And when you're doing a bill the way that the Democrats are doing this bill, behind closed doors, there's no transparency. They're talking about expanding prescription drugs. We know historically, anytime Congress has tried to do anything major to change the healthcare laws, there have always been unintended consequences that always fall back and have a negative impact on small business. So we just don't like anything about this bill. We don't think it's the right time to do it. And I don't think you're going to see any Republicans support this bill.
Right. Congressman Khanna, what do you make of the auto piece? It specifically seems to be targeting Tesla. I think we should just be honest about it. I mean, to some degree, you could argue that it will impact Toyota, which is based where Congressman Comer is, of course. But do you think that's a fair way to do it? And mind you, it appears to me, at least, that Tesla workers have actually made more money than the unionized workers in Detroit.
I think it's fair to have a broad incentive for electric vehicles and to prioritize union workers, and that's helping the working class. I don't think any company should be singled out. But let me just say to Representative Comer, we have a good relationship. We're on the same committee. This has been the most transparent process. I mean, every part of this bill has been litigated in the media. And the reality is that there's a philosophical difference. The Democrats actually believe that putting money in the pockets of the working class, huge tax cuts for the working class, child tax credit, earned income tax credit is good policy, and raise taxes of those making over $10 million. And, you know, the Trump tax cuts was give the tax cuts to the very wealthy. That'll fuel growth. It's just a difference in philosophy.
Congressman Comer?
Well, I think the Republican philosophy with respect to the government is right now in this strong economy, the government needs to get out of the way. I mean, the government has, in fact, paid people not to work, which has created a labor shortage. The government is trying to enact more climate change policy at a time when energy prices are skyrocketing, when we need to be increasing production in America, not decreasing production in America. We want to be less dependent on foreign oil. We don't want Joe Biden in Europe now begging OPEC to increase production when we have the capacity to increase production here in the United States. So I agree with my friend Ro Khanna. There is a big ideological difference right now between the Republicans and Democrats, but the Republicans really think there's too much government. We need to get the government out of the way. And we start
Congressman Comer, are you surprised that the stock market is effectively at record highs, if what you're saying is correct? And look, I've never wanted to actually look at the stock market as an indicator of, you know, how great everything is. But I will tell you, in prior administrations, there have been people pointing to the market as an indicator of that.
I think the market is a great indicator. What you're seeing is the government's printed so much money. You talk to any community banker, the banks are awash in cash right now. There's so much cash out there with the PPP loan program, which was in the previous administration, with the stimulus package that's already passed the Biden administration. Now they're talking about trillions more. There's so much money out there. People have to put it somewhere, so they're putting it in the stock market. The negative part of that is, yes, the stocks are going up, but also goods are going up because we're seeing inflation for the first time in 2 decades.
Congressman Khanna, final word to you, but I would ask you the same question in a different way, which is it surprising to you that the poll numbers are where they are, given that the stock market is where it is?
No, because working class Americans are hurting, and that has always been the problem. But the reality is, look, inflation is a monetary phenomenon. You can talk about the Fed and we can talk about quantitative easing. But the reality is, what can the federal government do? The federal government can invest in domestic manufacturing. We can get people back into the workforce, which is what this bill does by supplying, helping childcare. And we can help put more money in people's pockets so that they can deal with higher prices. This is going to be the largest tax cut for working families. And that's why I'm confident it will pass and help steer our economy in the right direction.
Congressman Khanna, Congressman Comer, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Thank you.